Solution Podfic, and today we're going to be reading Who's On Now by Larry Buzwavi. This is Chapter 16. Tick, 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 tick. Billy wondered why there were analog clocks in the watchtower. With all the money poured into a high-tech space station, why not spring for digital clocks? Tick, 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 tick. Well, people did have their phones, well, most of them, or maybe only some of them. They might just only take their comms up to the watchtower. Tick, 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 tick. Or maybe the designers wanted at least some areas that weren't purely dependent on technology. Magic and electric powers both tended to fuck with digital things, so maybe this was a compromise where they could? Tick, tick, tick. Fuck it. So, Billy clapped his hands together, making a startling loud sound. Whoops, big Captain Marvel hands made for a big clap, apparently. Who wants to start? The gathered leakers averted their gazes, and Marvel tried not to sigh. Honestly, this was ridiculous. They'd had secret identity conversations before. This wasn't that different. Hopefully. Nobody? Okay, then I'll start. And then you can ask me questions. How does that sound? That makes sense, Captain, Zatanna said, and Billy couldn't help but feel a rush of affection for her. He was glad he had people in the room who already knew, who would support him. Alright then, my name is Billy Batson, and when I was 9 I was chosen by the wizard to become a champion of magic. I used my abilities given to me by the gods to be a hero for my city, Fawcett. Billy took a deep breath and let it out. A year after I started, I was approached by members of this league to join them. It was made expressly clear to me that sharing my identity was not required to be part of the Justice League, only a desire to help people how I can and assist when others ask, and I'm available. Yes. Billy swept his gaze around the meeting table, meeting every pair of eyes he could. I covered up the fact that I'm a kid. While it wasn't an explicit lie, it was a lie of omission, and given the opportunity, I can't say I wouldn't do it again. Why? Flash blurted out, sounding slightly hurt, and Billy smothered a wince. Anger he could deal with. Hurt was far more difficult. Because I didn't know how this was going to turn out. I don't think any of you do, Billy sighed. When I joined the Justice League, I knew that my identity would come out one day. I'd never be able to keep it up forever, and I didn't want to. But that didn't matter to me. What was important was saving people. And being a part of the Justice League would allow me to save the most people I could, even if my identity would come out sooner, even if I had to lie simply through inaction. I would do it because the most important thing to me was to save people. There was silence around the meeting room. Billy averted his eyes, and to be completely honest, I was scared. Scared of what? Diana asked, and Billy appreciated lack of patronizing in her tone. She'd made it clear before she respected Captain Marvel as a skilled warrior and one of her father's chosen mortals. Perhaps that respect hadn't gone away. Scared of the unknown. I was scared of what would happen if you, any of you, any adult hero, found out that I was a kid. I was afraid that you'd try to make me stop being a hero, stop being the champion of magic. I still am, but I'm a lot more confident than I was then. And I'd hope you'd know me better than that too. That you know that nothing short of death will keep me from being a hero, from using these powers that I have been given to be the best hero I can. So if any of you are thinking of trying to prevent me from being a hero, Billy narrowed his eyes at the people around him. Don't. And please correct me if I'm wrong. There was a fear that we'd try to put you back in the foster system, yes? Jean said carefully. Billy stared at him in shock. How did you... Oh, right. Telepath. The discovery was accidental, I assure you. How long have you known? 3 years. 3 years? You've known since the beginning? You never said anything? Billy blinked in shock. It was not my place to say anything. Any secrets I accidentally learned from my friends I do not bring up. Jean said calmly. I do not make exceptions, for if I do it once, what's to stop me from doing it again? These are my principles. We can talk about principles of power usage on a different occasion. That's not what we're here for. Batman said lowly. Right. We're here for transparency. Okay, yes, I was homeless for the first 2 years of being a hero. Billy put his hands on his hips. He refused to cross his arms. He refused to be defensive. He refused to be ashamed of his time being homeless. That resolve was born of many, many therapy sessions. But it was his resolve all the same. Why didn't you tell us? We would have helped, Superman said. And what exactly is your idea of help? Putting me back in a foster system? Forcibly sharing my secrets? Monitoring me? Trying to stop me from being a hero because I'm too young? Superman said nothing. No one did. And that's why I didn't tell you. I'm very familiar with the other end of for your own good. And more often than not, it doesn't turn out very good. Billy sighed and rubbed at his forehead. You're my heroes. You have my admiration. You have my respect. But we don't have your trust, Black Canary said, perhaps a little sadly. Billy shrugged and then nodded. I was scared. I didn't want my choices to be taken away, and I didn't want to fight you. Was I young when I started? Yeah. And over my head? Fuck yeah. I had no clue what I was doing. But I had to. There was no one else who could. And if you say that you can't relate to that, then you're lying. There was silence around the meeting room for a moment. Batman had his hands folded in front of his face, not seeming to be looking at anything in particular. Superman was frowning at the table. Flash was laying back in his seat, and was either resting his eyes or staring at the ceiling. Hal was drumming his fingers on the table, and Green Arrow and Black Canary were having a silent conversation. Zatanna smiled when Billy caught her eyes, and Diana simply nodded at him. Jean had his eyes closed and might have been suppressing a headache from being in close proximity to so many strong thoughts and emotions. Captain Marvel frowned. He should try to end this. So, what happens next? No one looked at him. No one seemed willing to give him an answer, except Batman. What do you want to happen? He asked slowly, and Billy couldn't help but smile at him. Preferably, nothing. Nothing changes. I come up for my monitor duty shifts, I help with missions, I come as backup when asked, and just help however I can. What about school? Flash asked. Online to catch up for the years I missed and to leave room for superhero things. You said you're not homeless anymore. Do you have a guardian? Diana asked. Yes, and he knows about me being Captain Marvel and supports me how he can. What about friends? Green Arrow asked. Well, Billy rubbed at the back of his neck. I think I've used my friends, and I understand how that might have changed it for you after. Billy waved his hands vaguely. This. But I hope the way you view me hasn't changed too much. Yeah, as of yesterday I'm 13, but I'm still me. Having powers I like to think didn't change me too much. It just gave me the ability to do something about how I already felt. Well, that's something pretty much every Green Lantern can relate to. Hal laughed bitterly. Speaking up for the first time, I'm pretty sure there are kid lanterns out there. I mean, if a cat has enough rage to be a Red Lantern, then why can't kids have enough rage, willpower, or hope? I don't... Hal sighed and rubbed a hand over his face before making eye contact with Billy. I don't like this. I don't think kids should be anywhere near this. Near-death experiences, fights, all this shit. But I understand what it means to be chosen to do something that you're already willing to do, and not being willing to back down. Everyone stared at Hal. That was very poignant, Hal, Diana said. I play the fool, but that doesn't mean I am one. Hal turned up his nose playfully. Yeah, you're just a wise man who eats expired food if they don't smell weird. Well, too weird, Flash teased. Rude, but accurate, Jean said, and Hal grabbed at his chest like he'd been stabbed. Damn, coming from you too, Jean? I speak nothing but the truth. Everyone except Batman chuckled at them, but Billy was pretty sure that he saw Batman smirk a little in amusement. So that's it? Billy asked. This does feel a little easy? Superman said, sounding a little baffled. Why does it need to be hard? Zatanna asked, crossing her arms. It doesn't need to be, but I gotta be honest, I expected this to be more emotional? Loud? Flash said. It shouldn't be, Billy crossed his arms. Like, in my worst-case scenario, I imagine there'd be a lot of shouting, but my worst-case scenario doesn't mean likely-case scenario. I can't say we're all adults here, Billy joked slightly and hoped it wasn't too soon. But I can say we're all mature, rational people. We all know shouting isn't helpful. We all know that emotion and logic aren't always in line with each other. I hoped that we could talk through this instead, shouting, and we did. You should know better, Batman growled at the people at the table. And you didn't prove me wrong. Good. Secret identities are just that, secret. We are allowed these identities, and being fooled when something unexpected happens is foolish. Captain Marvel is an exemplary member of the League, who has proven time and time again to be a good hero and a good person. The Justice League defends everyone, regardless of age, species, gender, or elsewise. It makes sense that anyone can defend people regardless of age, species, gender, or elsewise. Agreed? No one spoke out against Batman. Good. Any further issues can be handled individually. Dismissed. There was a pause where no one moved, and then Zatanna spoke up. It was nice seeing you, Billy. Though you had a tie for me. And then she walked out. Yeah, nice getting to know you better, Cap. I'm going to ask for all the stories during monitor duty, though. Flash grinned tentatively, and then brightened when Billy smiled back. From there it was a steady stream of people leaving tentative goodbyes backed by relieved smiles when Billy didn't dismiss them out of hand. He didn't know why they thought he would. Then again, their trust in him was shaken, and they learned that his trust in them wasn't as strong as they thought it was. But maybe, no, they would learn to trust each other. They'd learn and be stronger than it was before. It wouldn't necessarily be easy, but often the hard things had some of the best results. Billy smiled at himself and let his shoulders fall as he finally relaxed. That went really good. Better than he expected it to. Better than his worst-case scenario. Better than his most likely case scenario, too. This was good. It was good. He was good. Do good, and good will follow. Billy appreciated the almost irony of his own phrase coming back to him in the best of ways. Billy. Billy yelped and jumped slightly. God damn it, he'd forgotten about Batman. Captain Marvel cleared his throat. Batman? I understand your motivations for keeping your situation hidden. He paused and Billy stared at him. Was Batman waiting for an answer? Yes? I hope the reaction of the League allow for you to come to us if you have an issue again. If I can't handle it on my own, sure. Batman stared at Billy. Billy stared at Batman. Batman sighed. Billy, I'm saying, as a father, that if you need assistance, I'm here for you, in whatever capacity you'll allow. Billy couldn't help but smile softly. Batman was usually so stern and confident, but Billy really did like to see the other human parts of him. The man who asked for help only when it came to his children and stumbled over his words and tried so hard even when it didn't work. Maybe especially when it didn't work. I'll keep that in mind, Billy said. Promise. Batman nodded firmly and swept past Billy, the end of his black cape swirling past like a flurry of socially awkward shadows. Billy stood alone in the meeting room for a moment before drifting over to the windows. The side of the watchtower was currently facing away from Earth, so all there was to see were stars. Lights of stars and suns and planets all glinting together in a beautiful tapestry of ink. Together but still so far apart, how amazing it was. To live on a planet with so many people, to live on a planet saturated with magic, to live on a planet with humans and animals and gods and aliens and friends. Of all the places in the universe, of all the people in the universe, Billy was here. Wasn't life amazing? Billy's phone, that he'd for once made sure to have on him as Captain Marvel, buzzed. Billy pulled it out of a pocket, which he was pretty sure his suit hadn't had before today, and looked at the notification. Danny had texted him. Billy unlocked his phone and pulled up the text. Everything going well? Billy smiled and texted his reply. We're done. It actually went better than I thought it would. I'm not going to say I told you so, but... Yeah, you were right. They're good people, Billy, but I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, me too. Billy smiled and looked back at the stars. They really were beautiful. Life was beautiful, and Billy was doing great. His phone buzzed again. So how did they take, my whole situation? Shit. Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 16 of Who's Old Now by Leah Biswavi. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next chapter.